Let's be honest, my wife said into the microphone, smiling warmly at our guests. David contributed nothing to this family but stress. Laughter rippled across the room like a wave. I couldn't stop. I froze, fork halfway to my mouth, the taste of the evening suddenly turning bitter. Then she added, "He should be grateful we tolerated him." That's when someone unexpected slowly stood up behind her. "My name is David Whitaker, and I'm 38 years old. I am not the kind of man who walks into rooms and commands attention. I never was. For 15 years, I worked as a mid-level operations manager at a regional manufacturing company, doing exactly what needed to be done, quietly, without fanfare, without complaint. I wasn't chasing titles. I wasn't interested in politics or spotlight. I just worked at home. It was the same story. I paid the mortgage. I handled the repairs. I did school pickups, managed bills, and quietly ran the logistics for my wife, Laurie's small bakery business. The one she told everyone she built completely on her own, from nothing, without any help at all. I never corrected her. I thought that was what love looked like. Laura ran toward the spotlight the way some people run toward water in a desert. She was magnetic, social, always the center of any room she entered. Her bakery had genuine charm, and she worked hard. I won't take that from her. But the story she told about herself grew larger every year, and my role in it grew smaller, until eventually I disappeared from it entirely. I was the steady one, the dependable one, the one nobody thought to thank. For years, I sat across dinner tables and smiled through small jokes about my average salary, my boring job, my safe choices. Her father was the worst for it. A loud, confident man who measured people by their ambition and noise. He found me lacking on both counts. I told myself I was being mature. I told myself that loyalty meant staying quiet. I told myself love meant letting things slide. I was wrong about all of it. If you've ever been the quiet one in your family, the dependable one nobody thanks, hit subscribe right now. I know what it feels like to carry weight that nobody sees. Drop a comment if you've ever been underestimated. Click hype or like this video if you believe quiet strength matters. Let's get into it. The retirement dinner was Laura's idea, or at least that's how it was presented to me. A celebration of my transition out of full-time employment and into consulting. A milestone, a send-off among people who mattered. The banquet hall smelled like warm bread rolls and cheap candles, and the low hum of conversation filled the air as guests found their seats. Most of them were Laura's people, her friends, her business contacts, her parents, a few neighbors. My side of the room was thin. What I didn't expect was seeing Evelyn Grant, the CEO of my company, seated quietly at a back table with 3 other executives. I nodded at her. She nodded back, expression unreadable. Then Laura took the microphone. "David's retiring," she said cheerfully, "because he couldn't keep up anymore." Laughter. Some uncomfortable, some genuine. Her father's voice cut through from his table. "Maybe now he'll finally contribute something meaningful." More laughter. The sound of it was hollow, like an echo in an empty building. "My bakery paid most of the bills anyway," Laura continued. "That wasn't true. I had paid the mortgage for 12 consecutive years. I had invoices, bank records, and statements that said exactly that. But I sat there and I said nothing. Because that's what I always did, honestly," she finished, raising her glass slightly. "Tonight is more about closing a chapter than celebrating one." The applause was polite. Uncertain, I stared at my plate. The bread roll in front of me had gone cold. I suddenly became very aware of Evelyn and her colleague sitting in the back of the room. Very still, very quiet. Then it got worse. Laura announced to the room, casually, like she was discussing weekend plans, that she would be taking over all financial decisions in our household now that I was stepping back. She told guests I would be focusing on hobbies. She had already met with a financial advisor. Without telling me, without asking me. It was done apparently. Her mother leaned across to a neighbor and said, "Just loud enough. Some men just aren't built to lead." Laura squeezed my hand under the table. Her grip was firm. "Just smile," she whispered. "Don't make this awkward." I looked at my teenage son across the table. He was staring at his plate, jaw tight, cheeks slightly red. He didn't understand what was happening. Neither did I, fully. Not yet. Laura floated the idea of selling the house next, light and breezy, because I won't have real income anymore. She said it like a reasonable consideration, like I wasn't sitting right there. I felt something shift inside me. Not anger, not yet. Something quieter, colder, Because what they didn't know, what no one in that room knew except one person, was that my retirement was not a retreat. It was not an ending. It was the beginning of something I had been building in silence for 6 years earlier. Frustrated by the gap between how operations were actually managed and how they could be, I started writing. Under a pen name, I launched an anonymous blog focused on operations strategy for small and mid-sized businesses. No photo, no real name, just frameworks and systems built from years of practical experience. It grew slowly at first, then faster. Within 3 years, the blog had millions of monthly readers. Companies began paying premium subscription fees for access to my proprietary frameworks. A quiet, consistent, deeply profitable operation, built entirely in my spare hours, on weekday evenings. On weekend mornings while Laura slept in. Laura herself had complained about that blogger more than once. Sitting at our kitchen table with her laptop, frustrated over a bakery expansion problem. She'd said, "Why can't our consultant think like this guy? This anonymous blogger gives better advice than people we actually pay." I remember nodding. "Sounds like a smart person," I said. She had no idea. But one person did. Evelyn Grant, COO, sharp as anyone I've ever met, had pieced it together 2 years ago. A writing pattern, a framework structure she recognized. She called me into her office one afternoon and slid a printed article across her desk, said nothing and waited. I told her the truth. She didn't report it. She didn't threaten me. She leaned back in her chair and said, "I've been watching how this company operates for 20 years. Your instincts are better than most executives I've worked with. The question is what you want to do with that." She became my silent advisor. She helped me structure the consulting transition. She encouraged me to stay quiet, to wait, to build a foundation before making any moves. "The right moment will come," she told me once. "Don't waste it on a small audience." Back in the banquet hall, Laura finished her champagne and smiled at her guests like someone who had already won something. Her father was laughing with her business contacts. The candles flickered. The smell of cooling food drifted through the room. I sat still. I didn't reach for my glass. I didn't force a smile. Across the room, Evelyn met my eyes. She gave one slow, deliberate nod. Laura raised her glass toward the room. "To new beginnings," she said warmly. "For me especially." Then Evelyn stood up. The room noticed immediately. She had that quality. When she moved, people paid attention. "Actually," she said, and her voice was calm and clear and carried effortlessly through the room, "I'd like to take a moment to clarify something." Complete silence. The kind that presses against your ears. She introduced herself formally. "CO." She named the company. She watched the room process that information. Then continued, "The anonymous operations strategist who has been advising and transforming multiple partner businesses over the past several years," she said, "is David Whitaker." A sound moved through the room. Not quite a gasp. Something between surprise and confusion. Evelyn did not pause. She detailed, calmly and precisely, how my frameworks had reshaped internal processes across departments, saving the company millions in operational efficiency. She described consulting contracts with partner businesses, several of whom were represented in that very room. She mentioned the multi-year external consulting contract, already signed, already active. Then she looked directly at Laura. "Without his quiet, consistent support," Evelyn said, "several businesses represented here tonight would not be as profitable as they are." Laura's smile did not fade gracefully. It collapsed piece by piece, like something structural giving way. Her father set down his glass. Evelyn produced printed metrics, testimonials, revenue figures. She laid them on the nearest table the way someone sets down evidence in a courtroom. Patient, certain, my son was staring at me. His mouth was slightly open. I'd never seen that expression on his face before. I stood up slowly. I didn't retire because I couldn't keep up. I said, my voice was steady, steadier than I expected. I retired because I outgrew being underestimated. The silence held for one long moment. Then real applause started. Not the polite, uncertain kind from earlier. Something genuine, coming from the executives at the back table. Spreading forward through the room, Laura sat very still. She looked smaller than I'd ever seen her look. I didn't raise my voice at her. I didn't turn the moment into something ugly. I thanked Evelyn. I thanked the guests who had genuinely come to support me. I shook hands and answered questions and felt, for the first time in longer than I could remember, completely like myself. The weeks that followed were not easy, but they were honest. Laura's tone shifted, quieter, more careful. But I had learned something I should have understood much earlier. Respect shouldn't require public proof. A person shouldn't have to wait for a dramatic reveal to be treated with basic dignity. We began serious conversations about separation. They were painful, uncivil, and necessary. My son started asking me questions about business strategy, about frameworks, about how I built what I built without anyone knowing. We talked for hours some evenings, in a way we hadn't talked before. I moved into my new consulting office on a Tuesday morning, set my coffee on the desk, looked out the window, and felt something I hadn't felt in a very long time. Solid. I learned this. The quiet ones are not weak. We're not boring, not lost, not falling behind. We're building. We're watching. We're patient in ways other people mistake for passivity. And when the moment comes, it doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be true. They underestimated you too, didn't they? Maybe you were the steady one, the reliable one, the one who kept everything running while someone else took the credit. Share your story in the comments. I want to hear it. Subscribe if you believe that quiet strength wins in the end. Click hype to help this story reach someone who needs it today. Your support means more than you know.